If you're a fan of chiptunes, you're probably familiar with London-based artist Chipzel and her phenomenal composition for the game Super Hexagon. Her high-energy bleeps and bloops fit right in with the game's chaotic nature, and she's now paired with fledgling studio Gateway Interactive and bringing the 8-bit ribbon racer Spectra to the Xbox One. This is a twitch racer through and through as you blast your way through procedurally generated tracks, narrowly dodging obstacles and collecting pixely blocks while surviving until the end of each song. Tracks are literally tracks, as there's 10 songs in all, but the game's procedural generation ensures that no playthrough will ever be the same. This is a great idea in theory, but in actuality it severely limits the game's visuals and allows repetition to sink in almost immediately. Spectra isn't a game I'd spend a lot of time with. Not because it's necessarily bad, there's just not much to it once you've finished and listened to each of the 10 songs. Doing so unlocks hardcore mode for each one, which clearly provides more of a challenge, but there's no friendly leaderboards or any reason to stick around when you're done. If you're into achievements, there's a few that may take another hour or two to unlock, but with Chipzel's music being the biggest draw here, it's probably much easier to just purchase the soundtrack from her official website and listen to it at your leisure. We finished the game during our 1-hour live stream and spent another hour or so playing hardcore mode to completion, and while we both found it to provide an intense challenge that was enjoyable throughout, we could easily acknowledge the game's list of flaws. For starters, there's absolutely no variation in the stages. Sure, they're procedurally generated in how they're laid out, but they're all graphically identical to the last. There's not even any color variation as you progress through each of the songs, and while that may tie into the 80s arcade feel the developer was going for, I found it to be extremely disappointing. The gameplay itself is intense, requiring twitch reflexes to zoom in between roadblocks without being bumped off the side of the track. Miles and I both agreed that steering felt a little too icy though, making precision movements almost impossible. Your vessel, which is an upside-down Game Boy console and an homage to Chipzel's instrument of choice, always moves forward while you only have control over the left and right movements. You can use the analog stick, D-pad, or the left and right triggers, but they all felt like driving a car on 4 blown tires in the middle of a snowstorm. The slippery controls make it almost impossible to avoid every block in the road, and smashing into them results in a score penalty that literally means nothing without leaderboards. To make matters worse, your ship is poorly located in the bottom center of your screen, which is commonly covered in score multipliers, Xbox friend notifications, and achievement pop-ups. This also made it difficult to keep track of our position while looking down the track to plan our next move, leading to more than a few cheap deaths. Spectra is definitely enjoyable, but the excitement is short-lived. We were yelling and cheering during our 1-hour live stream, and the viewers were definitely into the music, but the more we played it, the more we wanted to play something else due to the repetitive nature of the visual stylings and the fact that we could just listen to the music on our own time without fumbling our way through a song we've already completed a handful of times. With no leaderboards to complete against our friends, no variations in the level design, and the slippery feel of the controls, the game ends up being a little more than a vessel for Chipzel's phenomenal soundtrack. We're giving Spectra on the Xbox One a 6 out of 10.